Welcome to Austin Tech Connect, the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. Presented to you by Netspend. Homegrown in Austin, Netspend has been a leading provider of consumer and business payment solutions for almost 25 years. From prepaid cards to mobile bank accounts to money movement services, Netspend connects people, brands, and payment products to deliver innovative financial solutions.
Hey there. Welcome to Austin Tech Connect. This is the podcast about the future of Austin's technology community. My name is Thom Singer, and I am with the Austin Technology Council, and this is the Austin Technology Council's official podcast. And every single week, we interview local leaders because we want to hear their stories. How did they get to where they are? What is their company doing that is exciting? And what advice do they have for the rest of us on how we can thrive and grow into the future? And this week, we're welcoming to the show Ross Meglathery. Hey, Ross, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Ross is the Chief Product Officer of Integritek. And what they do is they help companies unlock their superpower. They let their clients do the things that they like to do best, and they leave that stuff like the IT solutions in the background. They leave that to Integritek. They take care of that so the companies can go and thrive. On a personal level, Ross is one of these people who loves people. He likes to meet people. He likes to be involved. He wants to get more involved with the Austin technology community. And I found out that he's a little bit obsessed with trivia and especially with the Beatles. So maybe we'll ask him some really hard Beatles questions before we get off the show. So Ross, how long have you been in Austin?
So I've been in Austin for about a year and a half. So I think in 6 months I'm a native, right? Is something like that?
No, actually, my children will tell you if you weren't birthed on the soil, you are never a native Texan. I am also not a native Texan, and my children let me know that. So, of course, they don't live in Texas anymore, but they will take that native Texan thing with them everywhere they go. So you came here kind of towards the end of the pandemic. You know, there's been a lot of talk that the people who moved here in 2021, 2020, 2021, early 22, a lot of them have been disenchanted. I think that's anecdotal. I don't think that's the majority of people, but you like it here, right?
Yeah, I absolutely. It's definitely a very vibrant city, no doubt about that. I came from DC, which has its own, interesting background, but a totally different city. But it's, like I said, it's very vibrant. It's, fast paced still, and I'm really enjoying it.
So last week, CNBC and a couple of other people ran things that Austin had like a little slight dip in population. It was like 0.0 something, but they still ran with it like it was a story. And I was interviewed and I said, I think it's more of a blip. I think there were some people who moved here who, during lockdown, it was hard to make friends. You're not going to feel part of the community. But everybody who I meet and who I interview and who I run into around town is like you. They're like, I'm new to town, but God, it's really welcoming and I'm excited. I want to get more involved. So we look forward to having you more involved around town and with the Austin Technology Council. So you came from DC, but let's go in the Wayback Machine a little bit.
Sure.
Let's go back to where you got started, because you told me that you weren't going to go into the IT world because your mother was in the IT world, your father was in the IT world, your brother works in cybersecurity and IT, and you were like, that's not for me. So where did you get started? Where did you think you were going? And what sucked you into the world of IT?
Totally unexpected to get into this world completely. As a child, I think in my 8th grade class, I realized I don't like computers. I don't like typing. I'm not good at this. But so all I wanted to do was, from the time I was really little, was become a Marine officer. My father had been in the Marines. I asked him, were you a soldier? He goes, no, I was a Marine. Well, what's that? And then once he told me, I was like, I want to be a Marine. And so my goal from 5 years old was to be a Marine officer. And I think I peaked at 22 because I got commissioned as a Marine officer. But the
hey, it's good. It's great to meet your goals, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely set the bar low, and but I did meet the expectation. So, So it never occurred to me that I'd get in this world. I didn't necessarily think past the Marine Corps, when I was in school and in college, I studied classical history, and I want to be a medieval historian mostly. I focused on that area, though. And so then went to the service. And so what got me into IT was when I got off active duty in the Marine Corps, I started doing defense consulting. And I was talking to my boss at the time, who had a very similar background in the Marine Corps, and he had a master's of IT management. And so I asked him about that degree and how it was useful for the national security aspect and also the technology side of what we were doing. at Department of Homeland Security at the time. And so that's what got me into that. And I got that IT degree. And then I got selected for a Marine Corps Congressional Fellowship, and I went to the Hill, where it was the exact opposite of technology. I was literally printing out letters from constituents and writing on them and having the congressman write notes and then type this up and send it out.
So you're in this role with Integritek as Chief Revenue Officer, but you didn't start off in the sales and marketing world. So how did you get in after you left the Hill? How did you get into this world? How did you end up at Integritek? And we're going to talk a little bit about the role of CRO.
Yeah. So over the years, I did national defense consulting, and then I also went to graduate school again, and I got a master in public administration, and then later on an MBA. But at the time, I was working for a nonprofit, and I was doing the lobbying side of thing, which lobbying is kind of like sales in a sense. You're trying to sell people on an idea. So I had that kind of background, and even within the Marine Corps, I was in a unit that was kind of parceled out to foreign militaries or other branches of service or special operations to do some stuff. We're called Anglico. And so that kind of customer service aspect of my job was kind of always there. And so I'm very extroverted. I like working with people. And so I was hired at Integritek to do a couple things, but the chief revenue officer side does tap into some of my strengths, which is really getting to meet people, kind of understanding what they've got going on, and then trying to help them solve problems. I really do enjoy, kind of building a team together and then helping people tackle tough problems together. So
let's talk a little bit about this role of Chief Revenue Officer. So I started my career 30 plus years ago. 30 plus years ago in sales. And the term CRO really didn't exist. I worked for some big companies. I worked for some small companies. I worked for more entrepreneurial ventures in the early days of my career. And that wasn't a term I'd heard. In fact, early on, the chief marketing officer had sort of risen up to being a major thing in some of these big companies. But what's the difference between a CRO and the VP of sales? I mean, that's kind of, we had someone running sales, but they weren't called a chief revenue officer. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is, or the biggest reason is behind is you're kind of doing like a more of a holistic approach to, trying to just increase the revenue of the company itself and be most effective to support your clients' needs. And so if you look at the chief revenue officer, you've got the sales department kind of falls under that. So you've got this, you're going out there, once people find you, you're selling your product to them. You've got the marketing side. So you're actually just trying to make awareness of what you sell or who you are. And then you have the various products. So if you're iterating and building new products and you're trying to get them out there to market. And so the chief revenue officer kind of is like that belly button and has more of a holistic view for the company to maybe make it more effective at the enterprise level, I would say.
I mean, that's a lot better than it was when marketing used to go up one line and sales went up a different line, and the two didn't meet till they got to the president or CEO, which meant that marketing and sales were always at odds. Having everything go up to a CRO, does that make it easier for marketing and sales to work together?
Yeah, I think it provides kind of an honest broker aspect of things, and so you can kind of be the mediator between them. But I shouldn't even necessarily say that. That could be an issue. But ideally, you're getting information from the bottom up fed to you, but at the same time, you have to provide some sort of like kind of broader perspective and ideas that you can then push down. And then from there, you say, hey, these are the broad brush strokes, what we're trying to do. Please feed me your input so then I can evaluate things and then I can determine what's the best way to use our limited resources, essentially.
So I want to play off something kind of on a little tangent here. You brought up the word honest broker. That's a term I'd never heard before, and it's come up 3 times in about the last 5 weeks. Let's talk about why that's important inside companies to have someone, and obviously there's no position for an honest broker, but somebody on that senior management team had better be that person. Can you explain what an honest broker is and why it's a good thing?
Yeah, well, I think one of the most important things, and I take this experience from combat and just from life in general, relationships, marriage, whatever, relationships, and that is people hate feeling like they're out of control of their destiny, I would say, and that they're not being heard and they're not being listened to. So when you have an honest broker, you want to have that person that's willing to hear all sides, evaluate it, make a decision, and then let people know why that decision is being made. So I think that's where the honest broker comes in. So instead of just being, hey, this is a decision that's pushed down, go with it, shut up, do it, which that's not the way you want to go. You want to make sure that everybody feels like, hey, my opinion is heard. We might not go that direction, but at least it's been evaluated compared to other decisions. and then the right decision's been made. And it might even sound kind of surprising for a military person, because I think a lot of people think military people are very directive, and it's not. It's a lot more collaborative. Certainly my leadership style, certainly at Integritek in general terms, it's very collaborative. And so that honest broker position is kind of useful in that regard.
Well, and the way it was explained to me was, in addition to what you said, it's also the fact that, we live in a world where a lot of people sort of kiss butt up the chain of command, whether it's in a company or whatever. And every now and then you need somebody who's willing to call it what it is and tell people, yeah, we're great, but we suck at this over here, and explain why without being nasty, but is willing to sort of take the cloak off of some of the dirt, if you will. And I think that if you're able to do that, I think the company wins. If you have somebody who's well skilled at it. So I went on the tangent because you brought it up. I'm like, that word keeps popping up in my vision here of late. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, and then we'll talk about Integritek, is, you come into this role and you're trying to do stuff. Integritek was not founded by you or by the current CEO. So what's it like to come into a company in a CRO role and have to change it and help grow it? What's the hard part to squeeze yourself in? Because Integritek was founded, if I remember correctly, around 2007 here in Austin. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, founded in 2007. So the company was owner operated, and then so we're a managed service provider. So which providing IT support to companies so they can focus on what they care the most about. We really partner with them. And so we're held by another MSP that had in a group called Westwood Group, and there's several other MSPs under that umbrella, and then that's backed by private equity. So they come in, they find MSPs that they think need a little bit of help, they make them more profitable, and then they hold on to them. They let them grow, they let them flourish. And so Integritek was one of those companies that was acquired, and it's like, okay, this is a great company, it's got good bones, but how do we make it work a little bit more efficiently and a little bit better? So when I came in initially, I was coming in as the director of operations, chief operating officer, and then also we have two different regions. I came in kind of as the general manager, and so it was kind of like, let's rework some of this stuff, and then we'll start focusing at the higher level. So it's kind of, what can you kind of manage, work on, and then from there build upon that. And so that's kind of how I got to the chief revenue officer role, was as we kind of iterated and tried to make things more efficient, then I could kind of shift gears a little bit. And so basically it was, let's get it more profitable. And then from there, now let's start bringing in more sales. And so that's where I was like, okay, hey, we made this business, it's more efficient, it's working better. Our team the utilization rates are better. And so now we're really effective, and we're increasing the revenue that way by efficiency. Now let's start bringing in new sales. And so it's like, okay, that's your next kind of frontier. And so that's how I got bumped up to the chief revenue officer position.
And how long have you been in this role?
I've been in the role for about 6 months.
Okay, great. So you got your feet wet now. So you're going. So let's talk about it in Integritek and where it's going. So started in 2007. When was it acquired, and when did the new management come in?
Just a couple of years back. The CEO came in about 2 years ago, Ward Alt. He's doing a phenomenal job. And so we kind of built up a new leadership team in the last year and a half to two. And so from there, we became profitable in the last in this last year for the first time in a long time. So really proud of the work that we've done. We've got just a great team. I think that we're really culturally aligned, which I think is really important as well, because we have headquarters here in Austin, but we have a presence in Dallas and in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. But then we also have a region out in LA. And so we're just working together as a team. We've just become a lot more efficient with each other. We understand the team across the two different regions really well. And it's been really great from the qualitative perspective. It's just been a lot of fun.
So there are a lot of companies that fall under this MSP, this managed service provider, type of role. I don't mean to say this, but it's also a little bit of a commodity, right? I mean, just in the year and a half that I've been dealing with the Austin Technology Council and trying to grow it, I run into people who are managed service providers all the time. It's a really crowded field. I mean, in Austin, but also everywhere. What do you guys do to set yourself apart?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think a lot of times people, they think of IT as something that they have to have, and they kind of like, oh, I got to take care of this. Oh, I got to do cybersecurity. I've got to, I just need this thing to work. And so a lot of times it's kind of like a break fix kind of mentality, like, oh no, my computer broke. help me fix it, or, oh, now I need to get a new computer because it's broken. From our perspective, we like to work with what we don't call them clients, we call them partners. And our goal is to, because the leadership of the company, we understand business in broader terms. CEO, investment banker, Harvard Business School guy, really sharp guy, CFO, Stanford Business School, really sharp guys. We understand business really well. And so the goal is to understand a company's growth pattern, what they want to do, where we can plug in to really partner with them, help become a line of operation within their company, and help them plan out their budgeting for the next year, 5 years, et cetera. So they should be spending probably about 2 to 5% of revenue on IT. So whether that's, getting the latest software, getting new equipment, maybe setting up some projects for longer term usage. So we help them plan that ahead of time, so it's not a surprise. So it's all preordained what they should be spending. It's just part of their business. And so what we help them do is they know that it's taken care of, they've got our input, and then they can focus on the things that they actually care about. So because the IT for many people it's a necessity. I mean, every business is a technology business kind of nowadays for the most part. And the companies that we work with are professional services companies. And so they need IT to support what they do, but it's not going to make or break what they do, but they need it to move forward.
So what's the next phase? What's the next steps for Integritek? Where are you guys going to bring this company? What do you see as your future for the organization?
Well, the future is it's in Austin. It's just expanding operations in Austin itself. I mean, so we work with a lot of work with nonprofits. We work with law firms, healthcare, some construction, architecture, and design. And there's just a lot of businesses coming to Austin, and certainly a lot of lawyers and schools and the dental firms. So it's a matter is just getting the word of mouth out there that we're doing a really good job, and that we work within those lines of operation. So. And then we're also doing more work in Dallas. So we're expanding in Dallas as well. Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We've had some really positive opportunities up there. We actually have people that live in Eau Claire. So they're from and of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They have the right accent.
I'm going to ask the question. I understand how you expand from Austin to Dallas. Oh. That's probably like every IT related company in Austin.
Yeah.
How do you go then? Next, we're going to go to Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Well, we already are there. And so, yeah, we had a presence in there. And so we had some local guys, I think, that originally worked, I believe, down here. And they moved up there and said, hey, we think we can expand operations. And the funny thing is, we have a client that is based in Dallas, but the Austin manager moved to Eau Claire independently. And she like independently, so she's got this Texas accent up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and she's like, "I love you guys."
It's a great selling point for your company when those are Austin, Dallas, and Eau Claire for her, since that's her background. Yeah,
yeah.
So let's switch gears here a little bit, especially because you're a little bit more on the newcomer side, right? One of the things I like to talk about on this podcast is where Austin has come from and where Austin is going in the world of being this tech hub that we are. And, a lot of people don't really understand that Austin didn't happen by accident, right? It was civic-minded entrepreneurs and other business leaders who really focused on how do we grow? How do we grow our business community? And of course, the timing of that in the 90s and early 2000s was all around tech. So, by the time you get here, Austin is obviously in like the top 4 tech hubs in the country. So what did you find when you got here as far as the technology scene, and where do you think it's going?
What I think was remarkable to me about the technology scene itself was how many like ex-New Yorkers, how many ex-San Francisco people have come here. And so there's a lot, it's like, you think about like Florence in the 15th century where all these people come together and all these great minds, and you have art and music and architecture.
Hey, by the way, well done putting your love of the medieval days into this talk. That was really well worked in.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah, I told you I was a nerd about that stuff. But yeah, no. So I think of it is that you have all these smart people with different ideas coming from a couple different areas with, very well educated, very business minded, or very technical technology minded, all kind of coming together. And so I think you become greater than the sum of your parts. And I think I'm just seeing, so despite what we kind of started with, the growth has slowed down. It's like, maybe we're not spending as much money. It doesn't mean that we're spending less, and I think lot of brain power is coming to Austin. And so I think that's the biggest, what's the future look like? It's the people coming here, I think. And so I don't know what the next ideas are, that are going to come here, but I think something special is going to come, and keep coming here.
You bring up a really interesting point, and that's one of the things I told the reporter who interviewed me is I said, look, if you look at any great company or any great city that has experienced, unprecedented growth over time, and Austin certainly is on the top of that list of, the unprecedented growth. When I moved here 32 years ago, there were about 700,000 people in the greater area. There's now 2.3 million people. So we've more than tripled in size in 3 decades. However, I said, if you look at the growth of anything, it goes up, then there's little plateaus, maybe there's some dips, then it grows again. I said, we can look at Apple, we can look at Disney, name the company that is iconic, and you'll see that they have plateaus and tiny dips and things in some cases, big dips, but our city is no different, right? We've grown like crazy for 30 years. And then we have a couple of quarters where our numbers either go down by 9 people or go up by, just a few people. And all of a sudden, everybody say, oh, what is that? So I think you're right. I think Austin's best days are in front of us. So what do you think as a community, especially as a newcomer, what do you think we should be paying attention to make sure we don't kill our golden goose?
Oh, yeah. Well, more housing, more roads, I guess. I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the limiting factors is the fact that it's just tough, I think, for a lot of traffic and the housing. So I mean, I'm kind of being a little bit facetious here as well because there's not much you can do in the short term for that. So those are issues, but I just keep making it a business friendly environment. Keep making I think people might not say it's that safe. I think it's pretty safe. It's and so maintain the safety in the town. I think that's a big thing. But
we're going to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of this episode. Our sponsor is Insperity. At Insperity, it's not just HR outsourcing; it's HR that makes a difference. Their comprehensive, scalable HR solutions offer an optimal blend of service and technology to facilitate growth. They provide the tools to help you lighten your administrative load, maximize productivity, and manage risks so that you can focus on growth, because that's what it means to have a true HR partner. Learn more at Insperity.com. Well, you bring up an interesting point in the fact that, our traffic has been an issue almost as long, as tech has been booming. I remember when I moved here in 91, I remember they just started doing traffic reports on the morning drive, and the locals were all freaked out. Like, why do we need traffic reports? And now we all need our traffic reports, whether we get them on the radio or from Twitter or whatever. We need our traffic reports to go anywhere. But everybody's saying that, traffic has gone down so much because of, remote work and hybrid work, work from home. But where I live, the traffic getting out of Circle C in the morning to get, up north, to where I go to my office, it's not a simple commute anymore. I mean, of course, during the pandemic it was, but now it's crazy. What are your thoughts on sort of hybrid work and work from home? And are we doing that in Austin? Is your company doing that? And what do you think the future is, for that?
Yeah, well, you actually brought up another point that I think was interesting, and I'll go into that though, is I think the idea of having little pockets of, technology companies kind of surrounding Austin where they're, you have easy access if you are going into the office. So, and I mean, I know you're seeing that anyway with, you've got like Tesla and Apple and all that stuff. So I think you want to improve Austin, keep bringing people, have like those little pockets kind of surrounding the city, and the city's going to expand out into that anyway. As far as the hybrid work style, Integritek, we love the idea of people coming into the office because we want to build a community, and we don't mandate it. People come into the office. We've kind of all self-selected coming in on Wednesdays, and then other people come in more days a week. And so Wednesdays are get together day where we really see each other, we work together, and it's great. The CEO will bring in his dog, Ryan, the CFO, will bring in his dog also. Sometimes there's the cat. Alligator 25. I don't know how she got that name, but so sometimes we'll bring that in. As far as the kind of the hybrid, you're saying the work remotely in general, I think I do think that's here to stay. I think people want to come into the office sometimes, but on their own terms. And so, and I think one of the things that we've kind of discussed, and I think it was brought up actually by I don't know his name, of which professor, but a professor at Harvard Business School was kind of talking about how, it used to be, you thought of people working from home, that's their screw off time. And like you're in the office and you're hitting it hard, you're working really hard. And I think the thought is that now it's like when you're in the office, that's actually your time that you should be spending kind of at the water cooler, where you should be talking, engaging, and maybe not working quite as hard, because that's your ability to socialize, to build friendships, to build connections, get to know each other, and just maybe that for Florence thing, kind of pass ideas together. And so I think it's really a shift in terms of where the work is getting done. What's more effective.
So you guys care a lot about culture. What do you do to make sure you're pushing culture when you've got a Dallas office, you've got a Wisconsin office, you've got a Los Angeles office, you've got people in Austin? How do you make that culture work?
Well, one of the things we do is that we have the circulation of the leadership, so different people, we have general managers traveling to different locations, CEO, CFO, myself going to our different sites. So that's kind of saying, hey, look, we're here. We're really interested. We do town halls on Teams with all the employees together. We do like virtual holiday stuff together, where we do like costume contests, and we do have internal, we also have lunches internally at the different sites themselves, periodically, and happy hours, et cetera. So those are opportunities where, like, hey, we can get together, we can kind of have that community. We've done other things where we've done like axe throwing, et cetera. So those are pretty fun. So those are, I'd say those are the big things, but it would be great if we had everybody, in all the time together, but that's the world in which we live, is that distributed one. But we do try to connect with each other online. So we do have those town halls, and then we also have different leadership syncs across through teams across the different locations, so that there are more than one touch point where we have different groups kind of getting together weekly.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's hard to build culture if you're not doing some face-to-face time. I talked to one leader in town who, he's gone pretty much mostly remote, and people are like, oh, imagine all the money you're saving with several hundred people, not having all this office space. He goes, yeah, I spend more flying everybody to Austin for a team meeting, 2 to 4 times a year than I do on office rent, because when you bring 200 people or 300 people and you rent out the JW Marriott. But he said it's important, because if they don't get face-to-face, the surveys I've read said when people have real friendships, like go to Thanksgiving together, type friendships with people they work with, they stay at the company longer, they work harder, and they're more satisfied in their job. And I think that's what all of us want, is our people to be that way.
And we do the enterprise operating system. So we get together once a year also with the leader, actually twice a year with the leadership. And so that's kind of fun too. So everybody kind of comes in from LA, et cetera. The other thing that serves as actually bonding is going to the different conferences and stuff, because we have, teammates from, the LA office, or people that work remotely out of like Washington State, or, so we get a chance to see each other a couple times a year at those events. And they're great for knowledge, but they're also just good bonding situations. And they're usually at a fun location. So, we get to get together, or they'll come here, we'll have barbecue, which is great. My favorite part of Texas.
That's right. If they come here, we got to serve them tacos and barbecue.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, I ask everybody who comes on the show, what resonates with you when we look to sort of the future? My belief, and words I've used for years, long before getting to ATC, is that community, collaboration, and conversations can solve all problems inside a company, inside a community, heck, probably inside your relationship. But which of those words, community, collaboration, conversations, which one resonates the most with you, and why?
Well, you might not have noticed this or not, but I'm a talker.
No.
So I know, shocker, right? So I would say conversation. And I think it also kind of ties back a little bit to kind of people want to be in control of their destiny and be heard. And I think conversation, you're not going to solve all the problems with conversation, but at least you can kind of get things out there pretty well and understand people's actions. So I think conversation is really important. At the very least, maybe when somebody goes a different direction that you don't agree with, and this could be company-wide, politically, whatever, you have an understanding of what their motivation is. And so maybe you can affect change, or you can address that at a different time or in a different manner. You can kind of learn from it. So I think conversation would be the one I would choose on that one.
Awesome. I got one more question before we end this interview, but first I got to go back to how I started in your introduction. You're a little bit crazy for trivia, and you're totally crazy for the Beatles. So I'm going to start with a piece of Austin trivia, since you've only been here a year and a half.
Okay. What
was the original name of the city of Austin?
Oh, no. Not Steve Austin. No.
That'd be the $6 million man. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we talking the Spanish times?
No, I'm talking about when Austin was incorporated as the city we are now.
Maybe was it Travis?
No. It was Waterloo. But
was it really?
Yeah. That's why you find there's a restaurant chain called the Waterloo Ice House. So we stumped the trivia guy on some Austin trivia, but I'm sure after you've lived here a few more years, you could stump the rest of us. And then the next question is, tell us something really cool we probably don't know about the Beatles.
I would say that if you listen to the song Rain, which most people don't really know very well, the version where Ringo Starr is the most proud of his drumming on that one, it's 1966. His drumming is it sounds really fast. And you're like, wow, that's impressive. The recording that you hear was actually what he was doing slowed down. And so I just think it's really, so I listen to the song Rain.
I will.
And Paul McCartney's bass is awesome in that one as well. They both were the rhythm section was crushing it.
I don't know that I know that song, but I'll look it up after we get off this thing. So my final question is, you've lived here a year and a half. If one of your friends or your brother or somebody came to visit you, where's the one place in Austin you would take them to show off Austin?
Any barbecue place.
There you go.
Any barbecue place. Yeah.
I'll tell you a little secret. Not any barbecue place. Every now and then you find one where you go, nope. But those are few and far between. So
yeah, I haven't found anything bad yet. So yeah,
nice.
Hopefully I won't.
Ross, thank you so much for joining us here on Austin Tech Connect. Any final words?
No, this has just been a pleasure. I'm happy to be in Austin. I love the city. I love the people. And it's just been a friendly, great town. And I just love being here.
Nice. Well, we hope our paths cross more often. We hope you guys get involved with the Austin Technology Council. And thank you to everybody who tuned in to listen to this podcast. You know, if it wasn't for you, why would we do this show? The Austin Technology Council is really focused on helping bring our tech community together to be that thread that runs through everything tech. You know, there's a purpose and a place for all these different tech groups, but sometimes we need to pull on that thread, pull everybody a little closer together and be one community. And we can't do this. We can't go back to being a grassroots organization if it's not for people like you out there, the grassroots, who will come and help guide us to where we go into the next 30 years. So make sure that your company is a member of ATC. We would welcome your involvement, and we'd like to have you add your voice to the future of our tech community. Be sure your company is signed up with ATC today.
Thanks for listening to the Austin Tech Connect podcast. Make sure your company is a member of the Austin Technology Council and add your voice to the future of our tech ecosystem in Central Texas.